What's up, guys? Hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend, but now it's time to focus on football. It is officially week 1 of the NFL season, starting off Thursday with Bills versus Rams. What a great way to kick off this great season. I'm so excited for this season, guys, and even more excited for you guys, you fantasy owners who've been doing all your research all summer long. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is, show those league mates that you've been knowing what you've been talking about all summer long. You're the one who's going to be winning leagues this year. We got to start the season off with a statement. What a better way to do that than go over our start sits for all the games this week and give you guys the insights on those fringe type players. You know, we'll give you the obvious. We'll give you the guys who should be starting no matter what, the guys you should be sitting no matter what. But we'll be talking about those fringe guys who will hopefully win you this first week and make a great statement in your leagues.
Bills Rams. Pretty simple. I'm not going to tell you start Cooper Kupp. You're going to do it either way. I'm not going to tell you sit him. You're going to do him either way. So the opinion on the situation doesn't matter. I'm not going to tell you these obvious things. Heck, Cam Akers might be a decent start week 1. He won't hold up the whole year, so don't expect it. So if he does do good, trade him immediately. No running back, heck, player comes back from an Achilles injury at full strength ever. With that said, week 1, start and sits for your fantasy team. Start, drum roll please, really should be obvious, Gabriel Davis. Last time we saw him on the field, he had 4 touchdowns. I get it. Could be a fluke game. It's not. Stephon Diggs is going to have Jalen Ramsey on him. This was the Super Bowl matchup, what it was supposed to be. Revenge tour for Josh Allen starts right now, reclaiming his throne on what should have been his Super Bowl with his team. He's going out there. He's going to throw the ball to Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is going to get up there in the end zone. He's going to catch a couple. He's going to get a decent amount of yards. He's an outside target. He's a threat. He's a solid route runner. And he's got a stellar QB throwing on the ball. Gabe Davis's talent is outside of just that one game. And it's been seen time and time again. Wait for him to break out. It is Gabriel Davis season time now over in Buffalo. Stephon Diggs is there. And I'm not saying he's bad. But guess what? Gabriel Davis still has great flex appeal for this upcoming week. He's got a really high ceiling. Go start him this upcoming week. And, it is hard because these week 1 matchups never really portray what is actually going to happen with your players' fantasy completely because it's the first game of the NFL season. It's always a little different and is not totally to character to both teams, just with the pressure and intensity and excitement being so high. With that said, your sit, I'm still going to go ahead and I'm going to say this. Sit James Cook. I don't know why you drafted him, really, in the top 12, 13 round. James Cook is not their lead back. Heck, right now he's 3rd on their depth chart because they, for some reason, ranked Zach Moss above him. I don't know why you drafted him to do what Zach Moss does and then ranked him underneath. Doesn't make sense to me. But what I will tell you is Devin Singletary, during the playoffs and end of the season, last time I checked, was doing just fine in their offense and was being very productive. In fact, a pretty above average running back last time I checked. So they're not going to just be giving James Cook the go-ahead week 1. They're going to slowly work him in. If you start him week 1, you're setting yourself up to lose. Plain and simple. That Rams defense is one of the best. You think that they're going to put a rookie in his first game, give him 20-plus touches against Aaron Donald up the ass-crack lane? No, that's not happening. All right, so it's going to go to Singletary, and James Cook is a must-sit week 1. That's the beginning of this week. Be ready for the rest. Detroit versus Philadelphia. Easy start sits. Sit Miles Sanders. He's terrible. He's garbage. I am sick of seeing people even talk about him. The more rushing is going to come from Jalen Hurts. They're throwing the ball to Devontae and A.J. Brown on the outside. Some great starts there, by the way. But not the main great start because they got over on the other team in Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown. A great red zone target. A great threat overall for deep ball and everything in between. He's their go-to guy for right now. And they have a revamped offense and they're ready to explode. We all watch Hard Knocks. We all know how everyone is high on Amon-Ra St. Brown for a reason. He's their guy. Start Amon-Ra St. Brown this next upcoming week.
We got the 49ers visiting the Chicago Bears. We got the obvious. You're starting Kittle. You're starting Deebo Samuel. You're starting, Mooney probably in a flex. Maybe a less obvious choice. I want you having Ayuk in that flex unless you got a better option. I think he's going to have a great season here for the 49ers. Some less obvious choices, guys. First for San Francisco, start Elijah Mitchell, the running back. I know in the past they've had a lot of committee running back situations, but when Elijah Mitchell got the touches last year, it was really encouraging. They cut Trey Sermon. They didn't, Want to bring a lot of guys back. They still, have Tyrion Davis-Price on this team now too, but I like Elijah Mitchell week 1. I think he's going to get a big workload. And I want you to start Trey Lance unless you have a top 10 guaranteed quarterback week 1. I want the 49ers to let him loose. I think they will against a pretty bad Chicago Bear team, and I think he can really put up some good numbers for you in fantasy in week 1. Now on the Chicago side, I would not even consider starting Justin Fields week 1. He showed some growth in the preseason, but I just think there's definitely better options, like a Trey Lance. If you're, have a different quarterback that's not, in that top 10 that if you waited for in your drafts. And then Dave Montgomery, kind of a bold take, but I'm saying sit Dave Montgomery. You might not have a better option than him as if he's your RB2 or even RB1, but I think there are better options you can put in there. 49ers have a great defense, especially a great D-line and linebacking core. I'm a little nervous about him week 1. He could definitely prove me wrong, but I just think there's better options at the running back position for week 1.
We got the AFC North matchup between the Steelers and the Bengals. This one will be interesting. I don't know if the Steelers will be able to keep up with the Bengals offense, but let's talk fantasy. We'll start with the Steelers. Najee Harris, I think he's a lock. I'm not too concerned about his foot injury. If things happen this week and we have to make adjustments, we will. Deontay Johnson, I am a little bit concerned about him, but I will have to say that I am more for certain about him than some of the other players who are slated for a breakout year or are rookies this season. So I'm more confident keeping Deontay Johnson in my starting lineups. Obviously, monitor that shoulder injury that he had preseason, but he's looking to play. Mike Tomlin mentioned that it seemed like the injury was very minor and they just took him out because it's preseason, and there's no real reason to keep putting him out there in harm's way. Another start for the Steelers, we got Pat Freiermuth. According to Fantasy Pros, he is, the Steelers are playing against the Bengals, which have a good matchup for tight ends. So Pat Freiermuth, if you have him on your team, unless you have some absolute stud like George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, guys like that, I think Pat Freiermuth is an automatic start in your lineup. If he's your best tight end, he's going in your lineup, especially with these quarterback situations. I think that they have a poor quarterback situation. Pat Freiermuth, perfect for those little dump-off passes, as well as Najee Harris, like we mentioned earlier, okay? Now we're going to talk about the starts for the Bengals, okay? Chase, T, Mixon, Givens, no question about it. We don't even have to talk about them, okay? They should be in your starting lineups. If they're not, we're not making a statement week 1, okay? With our sits, with the Steelers, I'm going to say sit Claypool, okay? I'm not even touching this guy in my starting lineups. In fact, I would rather start George Pickens if I had to. But I'm going to say sit Pickens too, guys. I'm really high on Pickens this year, but I want to have him, at least do a week or two and see what he does, okay? I want to be a little bit more certain in my first 2 weeks with more certain guys. I know Pickens might have a pop-off potential, but I want to be safe, guys. And with that being said, guys, the quarterback situation with the Steelers, I'm not sure they're going to be powerful enough offense to feed all those mouths there, guys. At least I'm not certain week 1 or 2 of the season. So I say give Pickens a week or two and see what happens, okay? And then with the Bengals, Tyler Boyd, sit that guy. I just think that there's way too much competition with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Mixon in that offense. I could see Boyd having a big play, but that's just too much for me to bank on this week, guys.
Coming in with the Patriots and Dolphins game, very simple. Right off the bat, start Ramondre Stevenson and sit Damian Harris. Yes, I said it. Why? Ramondre Stevenson's going to get all the pass work out of the backfield. Not to mention, they're even talking about getting him involved early on during a series on those early downs. They are decommitting from Damian Harris completely. They don't have a lot of draft capital invested in him. And it is time for you to believe it's Ramondre Stevenson's season out there in New England. At the same time, if you got Tyreek Hill, start him. Get ready for a big week out of him in Miami. He's going to back up his mouth that he's been running all offseason about Tua, make him look good. But at the end of the day, you might be able to get some doubters that change their mind after week 1, overpay. So I would trade him at that point and get someone who's going to be better for long-term the rest of those 17 weeks.
We got the Cleveland Browns visiting the Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield's return against the Cleveland Browns. We're excited for this game. Obvious starts here for fantasy football. Obviously, you're starting Christian McCaffrey. You have big investment in him, obviously. You're always starting Nick Chubb. You have a big investment in him, too. Those are the obviouses. Now, a little more, not as obvious. I still think a pretty obvious one, though, is starting DJ Moore. He's the number 1 receiver in the Carolina offense. Should get a good amount of targets. And in Carolina, there's no one else I'm really interested in playing at all. I'm not starting Baker Mayfield unless it's super flex and you might have to as your second quarterback. But that's really it. I'm not really interested in Robbie Anderson or Terrace Marshall or their tight ends. Now, in Cleveland, obviously I said start Nick Chubb. Now, I'm sitting Amari Cooper. I do not like him that much here with Jacoby Brissett. There's no one really else I'm interested in the receiving core for Cleveland to start until Deshaun Watson gets back or until we can see Jacoby Brissett actually put up some good games and finding, who his favorite target is. Njoku's not a bad look at tight end, but hopefully you have a better option than that because I'm still not going to be starting him personally. And Kareem Hunt, that's a tough one, guys. Throw him in your flex if you like. If you really don't have a better RB2, throw him in there, but that's a questionable start sit. But I would start him in the flex at anything. Should be an interesting game. We have those appealing running backs for sure to start in DJ Moore, but that's what I would say for this game.
You got the AFC South matchup, Colts versus Texans. This one will be interesting. Their defenses aren't the greatest. That'll play into the analysis. Obviously, the Colts are much better offensively, so Houston might be playing from behind much of the game. So to start off with the Colts, JT, Pittman, those are given locks. You are starting them in your starting lineups. No questions asked, okay? They have Matt Ryan now. Should have a more high-powered offense, more scoring opportunities for those two players. On the Texans, we got Brandon Cooks. I think this guy is definitely a start in your lineup, guys. I can see why you might have question marks, but I do like the connection between him and Davis Mills. Cooks seems to get his receptions and yardage every season. Touchdowns are kind of here and there, so it all depends on how well the Texans offense performs in that regard. But given that the Colts have a low projected defense this year, I'm liking the fantasy production this week. And that kind of plays into Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, week 1. I've been saying this, guys. I'm a little bit concerned about rookies early in the season. Now, I think this is very situational for you guys. If you don't have 2 stud running backs, I can see you putting them in there. If you have a running back who might be questionable week 1, who's been dealing with injuries, you don't know how much workload they're getting, I could definitely see you stuff Dameon Pierce in there. So there's that. If you have a weak flex where you have like wide receivers where you're like, I just don't know, maybe I want to put Dameon Pierce in there. He's been showing up in preseason for what that's worth. But, they did get rid of Marlon Mack, and their second string running back is Rex Burkhead. I think that says a lot. I am no fan of Rex Burkhead, guys. I'm a big fan of Dameon Pierce on this team. If they can move the ball down the field, Dameon Pierce gets in the goal line, he's the one getting the ball. Even in the red zone, I can see him getting good touches there. They're going to have to lean on Dameon Pierce in this game and in the future games to take a little bit of pressure off Davis Mills. Davis Mills is still a little bit inexperienced. Still has not shown quite the dominance that he needs to show to be a great quarterback in this league. Moving forward to the sits, I think Alec Pierce, you can't start him this week, guys. I have some concerns with him being a rookie. I think we got to see a good couple weeks out of him before we do that. And then we got Paris Campbell and Hines. Hines back up to JT. I don't think he's getting much action this week, if ever, just because of the workload that JT possesses in this offense. And Paris Campbell, I think he's the third option behind Pierce. So if we're not starting Pierce, we're not starting Campbell. He might have a big game here and there, but it's just not worth it, guys. All tight ends on the Colts, we're not starting week 1. And then we're also talking about the Texans sits. We are sitting Nico Collins. I don't think Davis Mills or the offense can produce enough fantasy points for Nico Collins, at least this early in the season. We got to see some progression throughout the season to start Nico Collins, guys. I think he's got some upside later in the season. And same goes for the tight ends there, guys. No one there is dominant enough to be in my starting lineups.
Coming at you for the Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints game. Pretty simple. Your start sit from this game, start Jameis Winston. This Atlanta Falcons team is going to be horrendous. Jameis always shows out early in the season, and they are going to be throwing the football. He's got multiple targets on the outside with Juice Landry, Chris Olave, and if he is healthy, Michael Thomas. He is going to have multitude of weapons, not very many threats for him when he takes those risky throws to intercept the ball. Maybe Young and Richie Grant might show out, who knows. But I would start Jameis Winston, and I would sit Cordero Patterson. Because you know what? He's not going to get the same amount of touches he did last year. He's going to get some receptions. He's still going to be okay. But with Marcus Mariota throwing the ball, it's not Matt Ryan. All right, that's not a veteran QB making the right decisions. And not to mention, the most important part about it, Atlanta has a horrendous schedule for running backs in total this season, the worst in the league. But against New Orleans, who's got a pretty solid rush defense, you definitely don't want to be starting Cordero week 1.
We got the Baltimore Ravens visiting the New York Jets. I'm excited for this one. I wish Zach Wilson was playing. We still don't know at this time, so that determines a lot, actually. But on the Ravens side of things, guys, you're obviously starting Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. That's easy ones. There's no doubt about it. If you have them, they're obviously your starters. Now, I would flex Rashad Bateman. I'm really excited about the guy. Going into the second year, a lot of targets available with Hollywood Brown in Arizona now. Should be definitely flexing Bateman. He's probably your receiver 3 or 4 on your team. But definitely, other than that in Baltimore, you're sitting any Ravens running back. Looks like Dobbins isn't going to be ready to go for week 1, or Gus Edwards. I'm not starting Mike Davis or Kenyon Drake or whoever the hell else is in that Ravens backfield. I'm not taking a chance with that. You should have many, many other options that I'd rather put out there in my running back spots in my starting fantasy lineup. Now with the New York Jets, obviously we don't know if Zach Wilson for sure is playing, but regardless, I'm starting/flexing Elijah Moore. Love his talent. It's time for him to take over as that number 1 receiver in New York. Should have a lot of opportunities to get some catches here. I'm not really interested in any other Jets receivers. Garrett Wilson, rookie. I'm not really wanting to throw a rookie out there in my lineup week 1. Corey Davis, I'm a little unsure how it's going to look, especially if Zach Wilson's not playing. So I definitely would only be looking at Elijah Moore in your lineup. And then other than that, in that Jets offense, the only other guy I'm really looking at is the rookie Breece Hall. Now, you probably see my Breece Hall video on the patience if you drafted him for this season. Don't put him out there week 1. You should have better options than that. He's probably your 3rd running back on your team, hopefully, if you did it that way. There's definitely better options. Be patient. Do not drop him. A lot of people get in that mood of dropping him if you're not seeing a lot of performance week 1. Ravens are a tough team to play, and I'm not expecting a lot of production to see out of Breece Hall week 1. So look elsewhere, guys, with this game coming Sunday.
We got another matchup, Jags versus Commanders. Starting off with the Jaguars, we are starting ETN and Christian Kirk. ETN, you guys are probably drafting him 4th or 5th round. He's either your 2nd or 3rd running back, so I think he's in good starting range. I get the concerns, guys. But if he's your best 2nd running back, he's definitely in your lineups. If you have another running back above him, I can see the concern. If not, if he's a flex player and you don't have the greatest flex players, put him in there. I think he's going to have a decent workload this first week against the Commanders. Commanders defense isn't as great as it used to be, so definitely bear that in mind. That college connection, him and Trevor Lawrence, I think that'll take some pressure off Trevor Lawrence. So look for some dump-off passes to ETN for PPR. And then with Christian Kirk, obviously, I'm thinking he's the number 1 target for Trevor Lawrence week 1. And that's why I would say sit Marvin Jones and Evan Ingram. Marvin Jones getting up there in age. He hasn't really had dominant years or seasons as of late, so I'm not really that confident in him. And Evan Ingram, I just need to see a couple weeks out of him. I'm very high on Evan Ingram for this season as far as a sleeper tight end, but I want to see a couple weeks out of him first before I'm stuffing him in my starting lineups. With the Commanders, I would say start Terry McLaurin and probably just about no one else. I could see starting Antonio Gibson. I'm shocked myself to hear myself saying that, but considering the unfortunate events with Brian Robinson and, just Gibson's production last year, if you don't have a better option to start in your running back spot, start Gibson. If you do have a better running back, don't start him. It's probably not worth the risk, but Gibson I can totally see putting up anywhere from 12 to 15 points this week. PPR, which totally, it's respectable. Nothing crazy. And then on their end, I'm sitting McKissick. I'm just not for certain that he's going to be getting a majority of the snaps versus Gibson. Jahan Dotson, I'm sitting him. He's a rookie, not certain for that. And Curtis Samuel, I want to see a week or 2 out of him in this offense, so I would sit him too. Sit their tight ends as well.
For the Green Bay versus Minnesota game, it's pretty simple here. You want to start Aaron Rodgers. And now, Christian, Aaron Rodgers the GOAT. Why is he not being started? I don't know why he's being taken at quarterback 11. In some leagues, he's not going to be, heck, even most leagues, he might not be someone's number 1 QB, which is absurd for me to even think about. But with that said, Aaron Rodgers this whole offseason has seriously been on some psychedelic trance. And this guy is so cool, calm, and collected, he's going to probably walk right in there and light it up. It's just Aaron Rodgers. It's who he is. They're doubting him because he doesn't have Devontae. He's going to want to show out week 1 why he doesn't need him. I would also watch out for A.J. Dillon that first week. You know why? Because he is going to be targeting Aaron Jones a lot. That whole trio right there, I love week 1. At the same time, though, I don't expect Minnesota to just sit there and watch Aaron Rodgers throw the ball over him, especially with the revamped offense. Obviously, Jay Jettis is going to go up. He's Jay Jettis, even if the Packers has one of the best defense. Kirk Cousins is going to want to keep up. And with that new vamped offense, Kirk Cousins is a sneaky start there, so beware. But my major sit for this week 1, seriously, has to be no one. You want everyone from this game. You want Dalvin. You want Aaron Jones. You want, at the end of the day, maybe you're thinking to yourself, even Alan Lazard is a good start. There's no one in this game that's really bad start. No one. Now, with that said, maybe Irv Smith Jr., I wouldn't start him just yet. Although, at the end of the day, who's starting him? Week 1, who has them as their tight end 1? If you do, you already got an issue. So I don't really feel like that needs to be said.
Yeah, the New York Football Giants visiting the Tennessee Titans here. Obviously, in New York, you're starting Saquon Barkley. A lot of hype here at Cover 3 Media, especially by Christian, thinking he's going to be the RB1 overall this season. You're going to be putting him out there for sure. You draft him for a reason. You're starting him. Now, elsewhere in New York, I love Kadarius Toney this season. We're huge on him at Cover 3 Media. He's a high-risk, high-reward player. But week 1, I'm a little hesitant to put him out there. I would leave him on your bench, see how healthy he looks, see how his dynamics in the new offense looks. I would just look elsewhere. And then Kenny Galladay, I'm not even thinking about. He hasn't shown anything in New York that would make me want to play him at all. So that's really it in New York. There's no one else on this team I'm interested in playing at all. Wan'Dale Robinson, the rookie, I'm not throwing him out there either. So definitely start Saquon. That's really it for the New York Giants. Daniel Jones not starting. Superflex as your quarterback 2, maybe. Now in Tennessee, obviously you're starting King Henry. You took him first round probably in your fantasy draft. If you have him, you're rolling him out there, hoping he gets that 25 to 30 amount of carries he usually gets when he's going ham, stiff-arming people, dominating other teams. Elsewhere, I would think about flexing Robert Woods. I think he is the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee right now. Not for long, but for week 1, if you do need a flex, I like Robert Woods, week 1 against New York. And we love Treylon Burks. I'm a big fan of him here at Cover 3 Media. But I'm a little hesitant as well to roll him out week 1. I hope he does well, and I hope we see some connection, rapport formed with Ryan Tannehill. But I'm hesitant to roll him out week 1. It's really hard for me to put rookies in lineups week 1. Because I want to see them in an actual real NFL game, not this preseason BS. I want to see them in the full game. So that's really it for the Giants-Titans game we got coming on Sunday.
Vegas versus Chargers. What a matchup. I'm liking this. To start off the season with a bang in that division. Wow. With the Raiders, I'm starting Josh Jacobs. I know there's been a lot of content out there that has been putting Josh Jacobs down. He's been a solid producer week in, week out, especially if he's your RB2. He's in my lineup. I'd consider putting him in over other guys who are taken ahead of him, guys such as Cam Akers, guys like that who are coming off injury, and I'm not too sure what the role is going to be week 1. I'm pretty certain that Josh Jacobs is still going to get a large amount of snaps in the running back spot, and I think he's going to have good quality touches, especially when it comes into the red zone. I think they're going to have 3 big options there, and it should open up red zone options for all 3 of those guys in that offense, being Josh Jacobs, Tay, and Waller. So another lock is Devontae Adams, no question about it. We're putting him in. And then Waller, if he's healthy. Monitor that, guys. If he's not healthy, if he's not 100% going to play the whole game, normal workload, I might consider putting in another tight end if you have a good backup, such as Dawson Knox. Fantastic if you have that kind of a backup there, guys. Some other guys out there, too, that you might consider putting in over Waller if he's not healthy. And then I would say here we got kind of a fringe guy with Renfro. If he's your best option for flex, okay, put him in. But if all 3 of those guys are in there, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller, I think Renfro is the fourth option. I think in the passing game, Renfro is certainly the third option. So monitor Darren Waller's health if you're a Renfro owner. If Waller isn't looking to be playing this week, put him in. I think he'll get great numbers. If Waller is healthy, I'm a little bit concerned about Renfro's production. I know he had a great year last year, but guys, I just don't think he's going to be getting the volume he had last year if Waller and Tay are healthy all season long. So that's my Raiders starts. And then my starts for the Chargers. We got Keenan Allen, given. Eckler, given. Mike Williams, given. Nothing else. Sits. I don't have any sits for the Raiders because I covered all their main players. Anyone else on their team that I didn't cover, sit them. And then for the Chargers, I'm sitting Palmer and Guyton. I just don't think they're going to have enough production this week. Those are definitely two guys who could go in and have a big play, but they're not going to have that consistent target share that guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to have, especially with Eckler being such a PPR back. I just think that Herbert is talking those three guys when he's passing the ball. So there you have it for Vegas and Los Angeles Chargers.
For Kansas City versus Arizona, you gotta start Marquise Brown week 1. He is there to explode. They traded for him for a reason. I couldn't imagine someone not actually starting Marquise Brown this week 1 matchup, especially with their secondary historically being horrendous. And yeah, they improved it slightly, but it's not going to be that much better. Kansas City's going to try to beat you on the offensive side, so start Marquise Brown now. Simple, easy start. You want a second one? Go get Juju, because guess what? Juju is the best second target option that the NFL has seen. He thrives being that secondary option on a team. And with Travis Kelce obviously being number 1, Juju's going to be able to play there in the slot and on the outside a little bit and be getting both targets. Go get him. But when it comes to sitting, Clyde Edwards-Helaire cannot be starting in your starting lineup. He just can't be. They're a throw-heavy offense. Clyde has time and time again shown that although they do have pass out of the backfield, he has no production when he does it. Isaiah Pacheco might take over mid-season for this guy. I don't expect week 1 with all of what Arizona has brought into their front line, just making Clyde Edwards-Helaire even a factor in the game. So don't start him.
Close out the Sunday slate. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to Dallas. Everything's bigger in Texas as we think. So Buccaneers Dallas should be a great game. Started the NFL season last year. First off, in Tampa Bay, you're starting Mike Evans. He's a damn beast. Could have his best season ever this season. You're starting Leonard Fournette. Oh, where's all that rumblings about his weight issue? Oh, I haven't heard about it in weeks because he got it down. He's going to be ready to go, get a heavy workload in this Tampa Bay offense. I'm excited to see what he can do. Tom Brady, if you don't have a better option at quarterback, put him out there. Nothing wrong with that. It was great last year for fantasy. Typically he could be your backup. So definitely, I'm sure you got a better option if he is your backup. Now, I'm not starting Julio Jones. No way in hell. I need to see something first before I just roll him out there. And Chris Godwin, we don't know if he's playing or not yet. But even if he is, I'm not putting him out there. He just recovered from an ACL injury. There's a lot of, question marks how healthy he is, how much he'd even play. So I think you could come up with a better option than Chris Godwin, to be honest with you. Now in Dallas, you're starting Dak Prescott. If you took him, he's probably your quarterback 1. Should have a great season again for fantasy. We know what to expect out of him. CeeDee Lamb, we love him. You probably saw my TikTok dance the other day. If not, check it out on our TikTok, Cover 3 Media. He's going to be a target hog all season. Should be a dominant receiver. You're rolling him out week 1. Dalton Schultz as well. Should be the second option in this Dallas offense. I'm excited about him as well. Was a tight end 3 in PPR last season, so nothing too crazy with him. And now Zeke. If you drafted him, he's probably your RB1 or 2. You're going to have to put him out there, but be careful. I'm liking more in a flex spot, or if you do have 2 better running backs somehow, obviously put them out there because Tampa Bay defense is scary to run against. It's got a great linebacking core and great up front with Vita Vea. It's tough to run on, so definitely be aware of that if you are debating about putting Zeke in your lineup. And then elsewhere in Dallas, I'm not starting Tony Pollard. I want to see how his role in this offense is. If he's going to be in the slot more, then I'm excited. If he's just getting some runs, I don't know how I like that against a great defense. And Tolbert, who's supposed to be the receiver 2 for Dallas, or Noah Brown, either of them I'm not interested in at all. They're definitely better options. But should be an exciting, high-scoring game that should leave you happy at the end of the Sunday night.
And then our Monday night game, garbage. I'm not liking it. Denver versus Seattle. I don't think there's going to be anything special. If Ken Walker was 100% healthy, I would actually probably enjoy watching this game just a little bit more because he was the second running back off the boards in the NFL draft, high rookie prospect. But I'm not really too excited for this game, guys. I mean, we do have to cover this game because it is a fantasy game that people have guys in their lineups, and this one's actually kind of a challenging one for some people, I think, with the start sits. I'll start off with Denver. We're starting Javonte, no questions about it. I think he'll be getting a majority of the snaps, a majority of the carries. I know they're talking about splitting it with Melvin Gordon, but I just think that Javonte has got those young, fresh legs that they're going to want to use more than Melvin. And then I'm starting Courtland Sutton. I think he's a number one option for Russ there. You know, more of a deep target, I would like to say, which fits Russ's archetype. And, you know, I just think there's more of a... Courtland Sutton has shown us more in the past. I know he's had the injury concerns, but I'm just personally, the reason why I'm putting Courtland Sutton above Jeudy is because I'm just not too certain about Jeudy. I'm cool starting Sutton this week, guys, but I'm a little bit situational about Jerry Jeudy. This one comes down to your preference. Personally, I wouldn't start Jeudy if I have better players for my flex or even guys in the same range. I got to see a couple good weeks out of him, guys. He really hasn't showed me a lot these past 2 years. I'm not on board with him. I think the train's left the station. And even last year, we saw that Russ really wasn't like the greatest last year at maintaining two wide receivers and giving them good value. Lockett had some good games, then some games that were trash. DK was more steady, but then he had that one little stint where he wasn't getting anything. So Jeudy being, I think, a little bit less of a dominant receiver so far as what I've seen, I don't think he's going to be getting those high volume games this year. So at least I want to see first week. Situational, if you need to start him, go ahead. I think he might still put up anywhere from like 10 to 14 points this week, which isn't bad, but it's not great. I think Courtland Sutton has a higher ceiling there, guys. And there are other players in his range, I think, that do have a higher ceiling than him week one. And then Seattle. I'm really only confident starting DK. We saw, last season, Tyler Lockett, I feel like he's a product of Russell Wilson. It's just, he has big games and he has bad games. I've never been a big fan of Lockett. I don't think that Drew Lock is going to be able to do it for two receivers. I think Drew Lock will find DK as an easy target, a big target to reel in catches, a big physical target that he can more so rely on than Tyler Lockett deep down the field. I just don't see much out of the Seattle offense this year, guys, especially not these first couple weeks where I need to see stuff happen. So and a lot of you guys didn't invest much in Lockett either, so, you're probably not really he's probably not even within range of starting on your lineups anyways. So yeah, DK is my only considerable start for the Seahawks. Talking about sits, I'm sitting Melvin Gordon this week, guys. Not touching him in my starting lineup. And I'm sitting all the tight ends on the Broncos. I'm not a big Albert O fan. I think Greg Dulcich will take over eventually, but he's hurt. So give those tight ends some time, maybe later in the season if they're really showing out. And then I have to say it. Sit Ken Walker, sit Rashad Penny, sit Lockett. I know that they're really the only other options in that offense, but we saw Denver last year. What was it? There wasn't much until Javonte started going off later in the season. That's really the only guys we were starting on our teams. And this year with the Seattle Seahawks, I just don't know who's going to be the main benefactor in this poor offense. So we'll see what happens here, guys. But those are my start sits for the Broncos-Seattle game on Monday night. That wraps up our start sit video, guys. For week one of the NFL season, I'm so excited. We'll be posting reactions, bold predictions, and stuff throughout the weekend to keep you guys primed for this first week of football. I cannot wait. Cover 3 Media, we got you covered. Check out our Instagram, TikTok, YouTube for all these kinds of videos. Instagram and TikTok, especially for those quick videos to keep you in the loop with fantasy football this season. I'm so excited to do our week 2 start sit video after we see what happens week 1. What an exciting time. Stick with it at Cover 3 Media. We got you covered.